I'm delighted to welcome our trustee and vice president at Brooklyn Ethical, Muriel Tillinghast, who will be welcoming Maimouna BA. Absolutely.
Good morning, and thank you for coming today. Today we have the privilege of dealing with not only a beautiful young woman, but one who is thoughtful and selfless, who has thought and worked on behalf of her community in a in a country that few of us really have any keen knowledge about. So before I introduce her specifically, I'm going to ask for a picture of the continent of Africa. A lot of people have said, not always pleasantly, go back to Africa. Well, now Africa is a continent. Just exactly where do you have in mind? Okay. So I have put up there a picture of the African continent, which holds 54 countries, which is 3 times larger than the United States and has room to go, and is probably the largest landmass without the continuous of the Eurasian landmass in terms of world space. Next, we're going to look at this location, which is called the Sahel, which is really the area of the Sahara as it moves south. The Sahara has been growing. I think it's 15 miles or there a year, and there's been a real effort to reforestate quickly as much as possible because, as you know, there are lots of populations that depend on this for their food and for their livestock. That's not so much for mining, which I will bring to your attention later when we talk about our colonial friends. Now, when the next, thank you for that. The next map is going to show you Burkina Faso, which when I was studying African studies, it was called Upper Volta, which was its colonial name. And Burkina Faso has had a very difficult life because A, it is landlocked, B, it was never considered an area for development by its colonial masters. It was always an area of exploitation. It's very rich in minerals. I might mention gold, among other things. So here we have a young woman. Oh, I wanted to say one other thing, and I should have said it with a past map, that Burkina Faso is bordered by 6 other countries. And why is that an issue? Well, because when the colonial people were deciding on the state borders of the African countries for which the Africans were not present, they cut across various cultural lines with the understanding that there would be a constant problem in unification and development because of cross purposes that would be served by state ambitions. So having said all that, we come to Burkina Faso, which is a country of just under 5 million people. I think I'm reading my notes properly, but it has an active population of in and out migration of about 2 million, which is a terrific number of people. And in that regard, I want you to know that this young lady has decided to set up camp and to deal with business. So having said all that, I want to introduce you to Maimouna BA, who we met a couple of months ago up at the New York Society for Ethical Culture, and actually through the good graces of Micheline Kamasowitz, I said it right? Okay, who has been a prime pusher, of bringing her to our attention. She is a case study of what one person can do against the odds. So, welcome, Maimouna. Maimouna, as you can see, is a young woman who has been at this for a while. She made a determination as a young girl that she was going to do something about this situation. And in that regard, she has. So I'm going to ask Maimouna, I'm going to set a couple of parameters. If we ask you a question that you think is problematic, feel free to say, next question. If there is an issue that you want to expound upon, please feel free to take the mic and run with it. Okay, so first I'm going to say, given that your environment in your native, well, now your native country, could you talk to us about how you spend a typical day? What makes your day different from my day? Okay, you give me some idea. Now, she's been to New York, so this is not as outlandish as it may seem. Okay, Amua?
Oh, thank you. I was afraid because I was not able to unmute myself, so I was trying to find out a solution. And thank you so much for a part. Well, now my typical day has changed a lot because I used to live and work in this part of Burkina Faso that is named Sahel region. We had 13 regions in Burkina Faso, and one of them is named Sahel. But unfortunately now, due to the situation of violent extremism, this region is completely cut it off the rest of the country because the roads are under terrorist control. So if you want to travel and go there, you need to follow a military cohort that sometimes happens in a month, and it is very dangerous, or you can follow a humanitarian flight. And this is also very hard to have for civilians or just for a normal civilian. It's even impossible. It is for NGOs. So now my days are happening in Ouagadougou, the capital city, where I try to coordinate actions with my operations team and where I try to continue the advocacy work that I do and to raise awareness about the situation of those children. Because, even if there are countries that are forgotten in the world, like Burkina Faso, even inside the countries, we have regions and towns that are also forgotten by the country. So now my office is based in Ouagadougou, the capital city, and I'm trying to work with the youth volunteers and my operational team that is based in Dori and that rarely travels for Ouagadougou. Yeah, I have a part of my family still living there. I have not seen them for a year because of the access problems. But I'm very happy to have my mom in Ouagadougou here with me and some of my brothers and sisters.
Thank you. Let me ask you, when you were in the Sahel and working directly on the education or accessing education for young people, what were the ages of the children that you focused on? And basically, what are some of the experiences that they had in entering into the educational process?
Well, we target children who have never been to school. We have many of them because even if Dore is a small town, for Dore is the region, the capital town of the region of the Sahel, and this is where I was living. But we have many other small areas and villages where people left and they come in Dore on internally displaced sites and camps. And those people never think of sending their children to school. So we have many kids who were aged to go to school, but they don't. on the internally displaced camp. But we also had children who were going to school, but because the schools are closed by the extremist group and because of the security situation, when the population is obliged to flee, they come. And sometimes you can find on the internally displaced camps children who are aged of 10 to 13 and they don't go to school. So we also support them two ways. Some schools accept them, but we also have special programs that we call in French SSAP. It is a kind of pastoral school year where you come and you study for a year, and when you finish, if you are a child aged of 13, they can directly put you at the fourth grade of primary school. So we have this alternative for some of the children that were obliged to forget or to left their schools and to come back in towns on internally displaced camps.
Thank you. To add to the complexity of the work environment in which she's working, Burkina Faso has somewhere of the neighborhood of 66 different languages, the distinct language groups. There are 4 official languages, of which the colonial languages of French and English are now considered the unofficial languages, and the indigenous languages that I won't even begin to try to pronounce are the languages in which daily operations take place. So you can imagine the complexity of teaching under those conditions. Nonetheless, she has persevered, and in her perseverance, she has been honored both by the UN High Commissioner of Refugees and by other organizations. Now, let me just bring to your attention that she's not only worked with children, she has worked with helping women. Now, this is largely an Islamic society. It does have a significant number of Christians, but it's overwhelmingly Islamic. And as you know, we don't need to go into those kinds of details. Being a woman is a rarity in terms of leadership. And here we have a leader, and she's young, and she's healthy, which means she'll be around a while. And so our friend Maimouna has been acknowledged as helping a number of women get some independence in terms of the kinds of either products or work or the labor that they provide. Can you expound on that a little bit for us and tell us, some of the more interesting insights, and just in terms of getting women, but how you get them, how you convince them to take the step forward? I'm sure sometimes against the interests of their husbands and brothers who say, but your work is supposed to be in the home. So could you expound on that?
Mhm. Well, I am from the community, so it makes things very easier. And the community approach is truly privileged by me and my team. So when we go on the internally displaced camps or on refugee camps, we are not those literate girls who travel or who have been uh, um, to the United Nations or in other offices to talk. No, we are daughters of Sahel, and we commit to talking to people in the language they understand, and we take ourselves as models. So it breaks the boundaries and it allows them to give all the ear to what we are saying. And the matter of economic empowerment of women is something that is not rejected by the population, even if it is not culturally in our habits, because now, due to the conflicts, men are dying and the women become widow with many children in charge. So they are expecting to find something to do, to have skills and to build by themselves. And so when you come out with a solution, sometimes the lack of money and you have a little bit of money and that you raise fundings and you propose business ideas to them, they can accept, they usually accept and you can build together. We organize trainings, but also we organize them because our goal as organizations and civil society activists is not to keep them dependent on of what we are offering. So we are trying to organize them in groups, and we declare to government association their associations and their organizations. So even if we are not here, they can be they can hand over and continue what we started together. So um, this is how we try to convince them to be part of the movement. They are in the ideology. They are part of the movement. They are not seen like passive beneficiaries who we have to give everything to. No, we truly try to raise awareness to them and to make them responsible of their own lives.
Thank you. Well, we know that you will have added success when the infrastructure becomes stronger and interrelations. I've been reading about the development of the Americas, this country, as it proceeded from its colonial status into something that we could call a United States, which really wasn't achieved until about 150 years after they decided, well, this was a good idea. So we know that Africa, in terms of its newness, in terms of statehood, is going to have a lot of growing pains. But among those growing pains are the continued interest outside of Africa to maintain access routes to the raw materials that, for those of you who are not aware, have been the basis of the development of the international economic system since about the Middle Ages. And because of that, and because Africa was not intended to be developed for its own behalf, but the development for European interests, that Europe finds itself basically in sort of a lumpen position of having to redirect railroad lines, road systems, airline systems, telephone connections. In fact, at one point, in order to make a call to someone in Africa, the routing had to go through Europe in order to come back to Africa for communication to be held. And some people said, well, that was one of the reasons why Gaddafi is no longer with us. But having said all of that, I do know that most recently, the leader in your country has had some words with the French in terms of the independence of your country and seeking associations with its neighboring states. Can you speak to that, please?
Oh yeah, it's a very dangerous question that you are asking me because we are no more in a democracy or in a system of freedom of expression in Burkina Faso. So even attending because I've been sharing the Zoom link to my networks, and we may have some people I don't even know in the call that are just here to listen what will be said. So I talk with a lot of diplomacy. And what I can tell is that it's getting harder and harder for civil societies to get organized, and the main reason that is put in front of this situation to explain this situation is the terrorist threats, and we all understand the challenges that it creates for the governments and everything. But we have been going through two military coups in 1 year, and yeah, many medias do not have the possibility to talk the way they want. Everything is monitored and followed. And if you don't follow the steps, you may disappear or you may disappear with your family. So, yeah, now I don't know. I, I don't know if talking about this is a good idea for me right now, sitting in Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso, so it can give you an idea of how we feel as populations and what situation we are going through.
I don't think you have to talk about your particular situation. We can talk about this one. We have one of the reasons why the United States was able to stabilize as early as it was is because it reduced the borders between states and began trade relationships that allowed for the interchange of commerce of all kinds, as well as international commerce. And as you know, since I've already indicated that Africa was the basis of the global trade system that established itself in the medieval period, you should know that having access routes to the sea is a primary trade consideration. Having said all that, let me ask you, in terms of your vision for the future, both short-term and long-term, are there some things that you'd like to share with us? And when you're thinking about this, how can we help?
Yes, of course. I did presentations. I don't know if I will have the chance to show them, but yes, I talk about my vision in the few slides that I shared, and I want to share it with you, of course. So now I'm at the head of the foundation that is named the Mama Sahélienne Foundation for Peace and Solidarity. And well, it means Sahelian Mother Foundation for Peace and Solidarity. And my own goal with this foundation is to build a coordinated future for our youth organization and for our youth-led movements here in Burkina Faso. And how I want to do it, I I the first step for me is to support the survival of fragile youth-led CSOs, civil society organizations, and how I can do it. Well, um, I I have noticed as a civil society leader for for the past years that we face many challenges in terms of capacity building, in terms of understanding our challenges and addressing them from the roots and in even understanding the global national legal frameworks for our civil societies organizations. So supporting the survival is identifying youth-led organizations and supporting them by building their capacity, by giving them the knowledge and the competencies that they need to continue existing. And the second point of the vision of my foundation is to create coordination frameworks for collective impact. For instance, with the foundation, I am leading educational programs and I include civil society organizations. But each civil society have has its own educational program. So I want all of us to come around the same table to sit down and to talk about how we can coordinate. So if my organization help a child, we are sure that your organization won't be helping the same child, how we coordinate so we can be more effective on the ground and make our impact more, more uh, make a stronger impact for our actions. And the last point of my vision with this foundation is to mobilize. So you have seen me organizing charity events during my last stay in New York, because we are truly going through a resource mobilization challenge. We are the most forgotten humanitarian crisis in the world. And myself, I don't know. I still believe in institutions, but I truly put all my trust in human beings. So for me, if Michelin can sponsor a child, it's more sustainable for that child than telling that I've got a fundings from the United Nations who and they want me to support a child because I'm not sure that next year I can even access the United Nations. It all depends on the political situation and what will happen. But if Micheline is really committed and she is doing it by humanity, it truly can change the life of this child. So for me, mobilizing people, resources, and attention around this region and what we are doing, and also building alliances with the people from abroad to continue remembering that there is not a life that is better than the other. We see that many horrible things are happening in the world, and we talk about Ukraine in medias. We see a lot of space for Palestine, but the Sahel region, where we have more people, and the the greatest challenges with all the human rights, you know, all the problems with even protecting our minimum of rights are forgotten, and I think it is not that fair. So as a humanity, we truly need to build bridge and to mobilize the attention of the people that are not here, so that they can understand what we are suffering from and how they can support us. So supporting survival of CSOs, creating coordination frameworks, and mobilizing attention resources are my main goals with the foundation, and this is my vision for the coming years.
Thank you. One of the things that
Mhm.
Maimouna has come up with is one child, basically one sponsor. If a person can pick up a, a continuation of support, that would go a long way in terms of helping her achieve her goals.
You have been seeing the maps of Africa, so we can directly go to the fourth slide for this presentation. I, because I had in my program to show you which region of the world is named the Sahel. So the fourth slide, where I talk about my roots, and um okay. First of all, what I wanted to do is to talk about uh, uh, my indigenous origin because I come from a pastoralist community, and it is a pastoralist that community that is considered by the United Nations as an indigenous community of Africa, and often invisible, often silenced, and many people don't know even that we exist or that we have rights. So my activism began with this silence. In my community, education is not a priority for children. And I was very lucky to be with two of my sisters that were schooled at the same moment with me, to be the first generation of women of our all family's story to attend school. So in the next slide, I want to talk about how I started gathering youth and women to talk about change and the initiatives that were developed. Can we move on for the next slide? Women for Sahel Dignity. If you have been looking to the first video that were show what that were projected, you have probably seen this logo on the shirt that I was wearing. So I want to talk about Femmes pour la dignité du Sahel, Women for Sahel Dignity, that I founded in 2020, and that is a movement that began with pain, but today, uh, we are very proud to say that it is a respected women-led organization, and it is an organization where young women lead with courage, transparency, vision, and we just try to prove that dignity is not negotiable. So uh, we we build on democracy, transparency, and solidarity. I led this organization for 4 years before passing the hand to a new democratically elected president at the end of my mandate. And next slide, 6. The second movement I want to talk about and is what we called WIN. WIN is named West Africa Indigenous Network, and it covers 10 countries in West Africa. So it is a network of indigenous youth and women across West Africa because I realized when I began understanding the UN mechanism that there are many tests that the United Nations Declaration on the Right of Indigenous People that protect those communities. Unfortunately, our people don't know that they are protected by international law. So we are trying to change that through education, advocacy, and unity. As I said, WIN includes 10 West African countries, and our main goal is to raise awareness of UN frameworks for indigenous, and we advocate for our rights. It's hard to do, but yes, we are thriving together. And I wanted to talk about the Sahelian Mother Foundation, the Fondation Maman Sahélienne. So this foundation is my heart and what I've decided to dedicate my life to. It is where we serve, grow, and protect each other. We build a structure that ensures continuity, transparency, and the evolution of every member, no matter the level. You have to note that the members for the foundation are not individuals, but civil society organizations and youth-led movements that we have the mandate to accredit. So our global objective is to build peace and solidarity through education and youth leadership. And when I talk about leadership, I always talk about service because for me, leadership equals service and economic empowerment and security of families, health, and indigenous rights. So on the 8th slide, I developed the vision of my foundation. Why, for me, after creating a women youth-led movement as Women for the Dignity of Sahel, why it was important for me to create a foundation. So as I said, for me, it's in order to support the survival of our fragile youth-led CSOs, to create a coordination frameworks for collective impact and to mobilize resources, attention, and alliances for our causes in the Sahel. So, um, in terms of recognition and results, so the 9th slide, I have already said that I was awarded the 2023 UN Young Activist Summit Award and the 2024 UNHCR Nansen Refugee Award. But in terms of impact for education, in 2021, we were just able to support 23 internally displaced children with 2 children from host families because we know that even in host communities, there are people who are very challenged and don't have means to educate their kids. So we take them into account in a certain percentage each year when we identify the children on the ground. In 2021, this number expanded to 60 beneficiaries, and it was all community mobilization based. And the number went to 200 in 2023, and now we have a number of 260 in 2024. So we also provide books, blankets, and community meals for the kids. Um, in terms of women economic empowerment, we have been organizing trainings in pastry making and personalized crafts, creating youth girls autonomy clubs, training in soap making, solid and liquid, and supporting for goat farming. And we have a program for eco-responsible agriculture and promotion of local knowledge in this agriculture, indigenous knowledge in the agriculture. And the further um the third point is the leadership program. We have what we call Sahel Girls Leadership Program that we we hold each year, and it's the idea is to bring together the girls that are going to school from the rural zones in a town, in a big town, and to talk about leadership, community involvement, and to get them engaged. Because for me, it is very important to train them to become, the people who are ready to serve their communities, just like we decided to do. Um, we also have environmental preservation programs that for the last year led us planting 140 trees, including baobabs and moringa. And we raise reforestation awareness campaigns on the community. And we fight gender-based violence, and we have a peace and social cohesion based program, and many overachievements. So in the overachievement, I listed the fact that we opened a library and headquarters with full equipment in my town where I can go now. And we established reading clubs, and we were also able to make the members of our organization to travel for international events. So we have been attending meetings of African Indigenous Women Organization in Kenya. We attended the COP27 in Egypt. We have been traveling to Senegal, some of the members of our organization, for a workshop at the Gore Institute. And we also led a program promoting human rights and civic space with the support of an NGO named Terre des Hommes. So, yeah, and all this led to the recognitions that you can see on the. For me, this photo with the kids and the UNHCR logo behind is something very symbolic, because when I went to the Young Activist Summit in 2023, I went back in Dori. I was able to travel this time because I was working with an international NGO, and I was able to take the humanitarian flight. So I went there to see my kids and to show them our trophy, because when you go to Geneva, they give you a trophy. I have it here in my office. And I didn't notice that we just sat in front of a tent. The UNHCR is giving tents to the IDPs, and this is where they live. And I didn't know that the next year, so in 2024, I'll be awarded something with the UNHCR. So this photo is very symbolic for me. And in the last slide, I just wanted to talk about what you can do to support us. Even from afar, you can act, learn about the Sahel, you can share our stories, support our grassroots movements, and speak up for ethical policies. You from here, we believe that the Sahel is not a zone of despair. We think it is a cradle of courage, creativity, and sacred activism. What it needs is solidarity, not extraction. investment in local leadership too. We don't need saviors, but co-dreamers and co-builders. I wanted to leave you with the question, what does solidarity look like from where you stand? And I kindly invite you for the next 10 slide presentation. Yes, so here there is a mistake. Andalunila will jam. It is a name. All my apologize. It is a name instead of L at the end of jam. So, Knowledge is the Path to Peace is an initiative of the Mama Sahélienne Foundation. So you have to hear Sahélienne Mother Foundation to support the education of vulnerable and internally displaced children in the Sahel and to build the leadership and civic engagement of young people in order to transform them all into agents of sustainable development. Next slide. So from a project, one child, one sponsor, I thought about this program. And you have been hearing a lot about the Sahel challenges. And just to repeat myself, our region is facing a humanitarian crisis that is displacing thousands of millions of people. And we have thousands of children and depriving them from their fundamental right to education. These children represent the future of our region. This is not a debate. And this program adopts a revolutionary approach. We want an individualized support where each child is personally accompanied by a benefactor. And the first year, because we launched the program last year, we targeted 100 children. And for each children, it is a sponsorship of $250 per year. Next slide. Our vision through this program, this particular program, is to promote the dignity of displaced children by defending the right to education and sowing in young people the seeds of civic engagement and leadership that will shape the future so that they all become builders of sustainable development rooted in justice and solidarity. So you understand that it is a human-centered, inclusive, and sustainable approach where individualist support becomes the key to resilience and personal growth. When institutions fail, I still want to believe that individuals and humans won't fail. Next slide. So our goal, identify and integrate. Identify 100 extremely vulnerable children and integrate them into nearby schools. This was the first goal. The second was mobilize community and raise awareness among families and communities about the importance of education because yes, now many people don't trust in education in the context where I am and where I grow up. And personalized tracking to ensure regular monitoring of each child progress throughout the year. And the fourth goal was to make a global campaign, so mobilizing individual sponsorship to financially support children. Sponsors can come from anywhere in the world. And the fifth goal is youth leadership and civic engagement. So to monitor because the problem of access, but also because of even making the young people interested by their own challenges in the Sahel. We want to engage young volunteers as liaisons between children and sponsors under the foundation supervision in order to cultivate leadership and civic engagement in these young volunteers. Next slide. So what we offered, um, a complete school kit each year, clothing, shoes, bags, supplies, and daily snacks for each child, and educational monitoring, so regular progress assessments and personalized support from young leaders under the supervision of the foundation, and emotional support, so ongoing engagement and ceremonies to honor children's perseverance at the end of the year and follow up. So we want to know who is moving forward, what are the challenges for each child, so we can communicate it to the sponsors and think about how we address those challenges for the next year. Slide. Um, so when you give a 25 USD or 200 euro per year and per child, this amount offered by the sponsor cover all support, tax sponsorship fees, educational monitoring, school kit, snacks, school improvements, and emotional encouragement. Slide. On the previous slide, I want to show you something. So this photo was taken during the awareness raising, because when we wanted to begin the school year, we organize a moment when the parents come with the children that we are supporting, and we invite religious leaders, traditional leaders, and government authorities to come and talk about those families, about their dreams and what they want those children to become. So to encourage families in supporting them. So this is an imam from Dore. I was there last year for the launching of the program, and this guy behind is a traditional leader, and this one is the High Commissioner of the Sahel region. He was the High Commissioner of the Sahel region at that time, and we also had the General Director of Educational Primary School Education who came and talked with the parents. Yeah, next slide. So our approach on the ground, so when we identify the kids, how it happens, we visit the internally displaced person site with local authorities to identify vulnerable children. So we do not just take the list from the authorities, we ask them the permission to go directly in families and to see the situation of vulnerability of the kids. Because sometimes when you take just a list, you can have kids who are in needs, but forget about some kids who have more needs than those you choose. The second step is meeting with parents, administrative, religious, and traditional authorities to raise awareness. The third is enrollment of children in nearby schools and distribution of school kits. And the fourth is regular monitoring by young volunteers and evaluation of progress. And at the end of each school year, uh, monitoring, evaluation, and celebration. So gift presentation, ceremony to honor perseverance and strengthen motivation. Yes, next slide. Um, so for the first year, the results, 100 school-aged children were integrated into schools. Community was mobilized, 100 kits distributed, individualized monitoring, international campaign. So when I travel, or even when I'm in Burkina Faso, I always contact people to campaign and to ask them sponsorships for the children, because I truly believe in human beings. I don't know if the institution are as strong as we thought it was. So, and finally, the one of the results is that the sponsorship is in growth. We have more people involved this year to sponsor kids than last year. So, slide. And here I wanted to talk about how the youth are at the heart of the project. So, the program aims to mobilize young volunteers aged from 15 to 20 years from the Sahel as liaisons between children and their sponsors. These young leaders provide on-the-ground support and embody the hope of a generation committed to their community. So, to make now, I have some volunteers working with the foundation, but we need to secure a certain number of sponsorship if we want to make this an effective part of the program. Because if a young boy or a young girl visit the internally displaced people to get the information from the kids and give it back to the sponsor and the foundation, he needs communication fees. So beyond the beyond just the fact of serving as volunteers, as they are students and they don't have source of income, when we take into account in the sponsorship of 215 this part, but we need more sponsors to make it truly effective on the ground. And slide. Yeah, and this is the last slide. Knowledge is the path to peace. You can all get engaged from aboard, and yeah, you can also talk around you about the program. And this is truly a human-centered approach and a human-based approach to solve the problem of education for for Sahelian children. So together, I want to trust that we can build the future of the Sahel.